cane corso. The Roman army didn't just march with soldiers. They deployed the Canis pugnax, a legendary war dog armored and sent ahead of the infantry to break enemy lines before the humans even arrived. After the fall of Rome, the breed transitioned to the quiet life of livestock guarding and hunting across southern Italy, nearly facing extinction in the mid-20th century. It was pulled back from the edge in the 1970s by breeders who understood exactly what was almost lost, a quality of stillness that is rare in the canine world. What makes the cane corso distinct from every other large breed is this very stillness. It doesn't bark at shadows, it doesn't posture, and it doesn't perform aggression. It assesses, decides, and then acts. And the gap between that assessment and the action is shorter than most people would like to believe. Experienced handlers describe an almost unnerving attentiveness, a dog that reads the emotional temperature of a room with the accuracy of a human being. A nervous, unstructured owner will produce a reactive and dangerous animal, but a calm leader produces something closer to a very large, very serious shadow that would put itself between you and anything in the world. The dog that once guarded the edges of a sprawling empire now guards suburban driveways, and while the job got smaller, the dog simply didn't notice. American Pit Bull Terrier. For most of American history, the most banned dog in the world was the one parents trusted most to sleep next to their children in the nursery. The breed was pulled from 19th century Britain, a crossbreed of bulldogs and terriers, and dropped into the ugliest human entertainment imaginable, bull baiting and pit fighting. Yet from those blood-soaked rings, they transitioned back into American farms and family porches as if the history of violence never happened. Sergeant Stubby, the most decorated war dog in U.S. history, was a pit bull. He appeared on magazine covers, wore a tiny uniform with medals, and was a hero to the entire nation. The breed was famously called a nanny dog because it was loyal to humans with an almost pathological consistency, a trait bred into them so owners could safely handle them even in the heat of a fight. The tragedy began when this intentional genetic consistency was handed down through the wrong generations and into the wrong hands. Today, over 900 jurisdictions have enacted breed-specific bans, yet studies consistently show these laws do not reduce bite incidents. Most reported pit bull attacks involve misidentified breeds, proving that while the dog didn't change, our perception and our legislation certainly did. Somewhere right now, one is asleep on a couch it's not supposed to be on, completely unbothered by its international reputation, a reminder that the hands holding the leash were always the real variable. Dogo Argentino. One man decided Argentina needed a dog that could kill a puma, and he spent his entire life building it from the ground up. Dr. Antonio Norris Martinez began in the 1920s by crossbreeding the now extinct fighting dog of Cordoba with 10 other distinct breeds, including the Great Dane, Boxer, and Irish Wolfhound. He was refining a creature for endurance, a massive tolerance for pain, and a cooperative hunting instinct capable of running down wild boar and pumas across open pampas. What makes the dogo distinct is that it was never bred for solo aggression. It was built for pack hunting, which requires high impulse control and the ability to work alongside other dogs toward a shared target. For a breed currently banned in the UK and Australia as a dangerous fighting dog, that detail is almost darkly funny, because the dogo was specifically not bred for fighting, but for surviving the apex predators of South America. A man gave his life building the perfect companion for the most dangerous hunts, and today, countries ban the result based purely on the shadow it casts. Burble. South Africa needed a dog that could hold a leopard until the farmer arrived. So from the 17th century onward, settlers crossbred European Mastiffs with local African dogs. The environment did the rest, natural selection running a quality control process that no human program could have designed as efficiently. The result is an animal with a bite force estimated between 450 and 800 pounds per square inch, a bone-crushing grip that evolved not as intimidation, but as a practical necessity for survival in the bush. But here is the twist. The same animal that held a leopard at bay was historically used as a babysitter on remote farms where the nearest neighbor was hours away. It was trusted with infants because it had already proven it would die for the pack, yet multiple countries have since banned the boar bull outright. Fila brasileiro. In the colonial era of Brazil, a dog was needed that could track in the dense heat of the rainforest and hold large predators like the jaguar without killing them. The Fila brasileiro was the answer, a mastiff type that developed a trait so extreme it is unique in the entire canine world, ojeriza. Ojeriza translates to a deep natural aversion to strangers. It is not a learned behavior, but a genetic requirement of the breed. In Brazil, they say faithful as a fila because their loyalty to their owner is absolute, while their distrust of the rest of the world is total. Because of this intense territorial instinct and their history of tracking, the fila is banned in over a dozen countries where owners were unable to respect the invisible wall the dog builds around its family. It is a dog that was built to never forget who its family is and never forgive those who are not. Caucasian Shepherd. This dog was not domesticated so much as it agreed, temporarily, to tolerate human presence in exchange for a job that no one else wanted. The ovcharka emerged from the high passes of Georgia and Armenia, developed over thousands of years to solve predator problems independently, in darkness and cold that made human intervention impossible. It is a massive animal that moves with the unhurried weight of something that has never had a reason to rush. Yet what makes it unsettling is not its size, but its absolute autonomy. In a crisis, it does not wait for a command. It evaluates, decides, and acts exactly what you need when a wolf pack arrives at 2 a.m. and you are miles away. The terror of the breed in an urban environment is that it decides who belongs and who does not, based on criteria that aren't always legible to the humans involved. It has been doing this for 4,000 years, and it will not stop just because you bought a nice house with a gate. Presa Canario. In 2001, a Presa Canario killed a woman in the hallway of her own apartment building in San Francisco, a case that changed the way we look at animal liability forever. The owners were lawyers, and they had deliberately trained their dogs as weapons, eventually resulting in one of the first murder convictions for a dog attack in U.S. legal history. The Presa Canario absorbed the infamy, but the legal precedent pointed for once in the right direction, at the architects, not the instrument. This breed was built for cattle work and territory, functioning less like a pet and more like a set of policies. Territorial drive so finely tuned it cannot be turned off by an amateur. It remains a reminder that when you build a biological weapon, you are responsible for where it is pointed. Kangal, the highest confirmed bite force of any dog ever measured, belongs to a breed whose primary job is to actually never bite anything. Developed in the Sivas province of Turkey, the Kangal's strategy is deliberate. Position itself between the flock and the threat, vocalize, escalate slowly, and only engage as a final desperate resort. Its bite force, estimated at over 740 pounds per square inch, is higher than many large wild predators, yet it exists on an animal specifically bred to avoid needing it. Today, Kangals are deployed in Namibia as a conservation tool, placed with farmers to deter cheetahs without killing them, actually saving the predators they were built to fight. The most powerful bite on this list belongs to the dog least interested in using it, doing the only thing it was ever asked to do: stand its ground. Tosa Inu. This dog was bred to fight in complete silence, not because it was trained to suppress sound, but because the culture that built it considered noise during combat to be dishonorable. Refined under a strict tradition where yelping or whimpering meant disqualification, breeders selected specifically for the suppression of pain and stress vocalization over hundreds of years. The result is a dog with no behavioral telegraph, no growl before a decision is made, and no whimper to signal that a threshold is being approached. The warning signs that precede a serious incident in virtually every other breed are, in the Tosa, simply absent, creating an animal that cannot ask for help and cannot warn you when it is about to strike. Regarded as a national cultural artifact in Japan and banned in the UK and Australia, the Tosa is a testament to what happens when humans decide that an animal's capacity to cry out is the one thing that needs to be removed. Wolf dog. This is not a dog that thinks it's a wolf. It is a wolf that was asked gently to try being a dog and has not fully committed to the answer. Existing as a spectrum rather than a breed, high-content hybrids lack the 15,000 years of co-evolutionary domestication that rewire dogs to follow a human gaze or read a human facial expression. A wolf dog watches you the way a predator watches anything in its environment, as a factor to be assessed and managed, not as a partner to be trusted. The most common victims of serious incidents are the owners themselves, people who believe the bond they felt was symmetrical, failing to realize the gap between the animal they wanted and the one they actually had. You wanted a wolf, but you got something that remembers being one, and that is a distinction that lives in the space where accidents happen. Every dog on this list was built by a human decision. A war, a farm, a fighting ring, a surgeon with a dream, or a mountain pass in the dark. None of them arrived on this planet dangerous. They were assigned that title by function, by fear, by negligence, or by a fundamental failure to understand our own creations. The pit bull was legislated into infamy, while the hands that shaped it walked free. And the wolf dog lives in a gap we created but cannot seem to close. Taken together, this is not a catalog of dangerous animals, but a record of dangerous certainty. The certainty that we knew what we were building and the consistent refusal to take responsibility when we were wrong. The most dangerous thing on this list was never the dog. It was always the hands holding the leash.